Action.
Good evening. This is our project group, and I'm opening. For our project, we have chosen the Ascension of Christ. And I will introduce each and every one that's a part of our project and what they will be bringing to the plate. Irvin will be speaking on the textual component. Brad will expound on the temporary part of the ascension of Christ, what it means for us today. Mary will take us on a journey through the historical section. Oh my God, I forgot Shane.
And Shane will do the theological portion of it. So go ahead, Mary.
Well, I'm Mary, and I'm to do the historical portion of it. We're going to take it back to actually the crucifixion is where it actually all began, because without the crucifixion, there could not be an ascension. So I did a picture of the crucifixion where they're actually putting Christ on the cross and is about to raise it up. And then this one is showing actually where the Roman soldiers was actually piercing him in his side. And then we'll see, before this actually happens, there was another part where all of the citizens and the people and the Romans were all around the cross, just, ooh and on and all this kind of stuff. But here you see the picture. This is just before the burial, when they are taking him off the cross and getting ready to take him to the burial site. After burial, well, just before the burial, I'm sorry, the men there were actually casting lots for his clothing until someone made them stop. So it was like, for the crucifixion, for some, it was very, very personal to them. But then for others, it was still a time of marking the king, because he was called the King of the Jews. So, it was like, okay, this is your king. So after they stopped that part, then he was buried. And of course, because they did not want anything to come up with the body, saying maybe the Jews, maybe his followers would move his body, they had the tomb actually sealed. And of course, the seal was a huge rock, a boulder. And then they did other things to seal it, so one individual could not move the seal from in front of the tomb. Yeah. But during the night, while the soldiers are actually sleeping, the angel actually came and rolled the stone away from the tomb, so Jesus was able to come on out. And of course, when he gets up, when the soldiers actually get up, they're worried. They were feared for their lives because Jesus was now gone. This one, after he had risen, he was then seen by his disciples at different times, because for 40 days he walked amongst them. And the first ones that he actually encountered were the two women, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, because they were the ones that went to see him and saw that he was already gone. But he met them on the road, and they were able to witness the fact that he had risen, and they went to spread the word that he had risen. Okay, the ascension was an event which Jesus' human flesh returned to the Father in heaven to be seated at the right hand of the Father. The ascension takes place 40 days after the resurrection of Jesus. During the 40 days after the resurrection, Jesus appeared to his disciples. During these appearances, he was still instructing them on how they were to continue the work that he had started with them. They were still to spread the gospel and, visit and make sure all the churches were okay. So this was part of what Jesus did to them. And then, he told them he wanted them to remain in Jerusalem because the promise that the Father had given unto them would come then, but they had to wait and not, get weary in their well-doing is what we say. But they had to wait there. And the crucifixion, of course, we know it as the ultimate sacrifice that Jesus did. And this sacrifice was for mankind. It was for our redemption. And it was a time that it had to take place in order for us to be able to say that now I have the right to eternal life. So all of these things took place before that happened. Of course, there were Jews and the Gentiles and everybody that was around. There were a lot of opposition going on. But Jesus had to come back. And that was the only way that the Pentecost was going to take place. Because he had to come, and then some wanted to touch him. But he told them that they could not touch him because he had not gone away to his Father. So at the time of ascension, he did not allow them to actually see him when he actually went up. He was surrounded by a cloud of smoke. And the cloud has been represented in other areas of the Bible as well, in Acts. But this cloud was very significant because it was a covering for him. See, because we could not look upon his glory at that time. So that's some of the historical points of the ascension.
Yep.
Okay, next.
The textual portion.
Textual part.
Yeah.
Great.
So what I did was actually pull some stuff off Galileo, which helped me to understand the textual components of it. Looking back at Luke, that gave us the first portion of the ascension. And what I did was pull some works off that talked about the differences, the literary differences, talked about the etymology of some of the words, and just gave us